I love experiencing content from other regions of the world outside of where I live. Now, I recently had checked out the Turkish series Another Self on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. Now there's a Turkish musical drama called Heartsong on the platform. So, how is it? While serenading a wedding that quickly implodes, a nomadic musician falls for the bride, whose behavior angers her family. Now he has to save her life. This opens with an awesome continuous shot where we're following a man around his gypsy camp singing. Now, this is where we meet Pirosh, our main protagonist, and as he's moving through the camp, we meet some of his family too. Now, just like the title implies, this movie centers around music and song, and more importantly, a particular melodic riff that is shared between two people. But the catch is that one of those people is a bride who's about to get married. This is a totally different presentation than I think I've experienced before. We're thrust into the gypsy culture without a lot of insight into how they function as a people group. We get a look into their lives and community and can begin to get a small sense of their behaviors and mannerisms. It appears to be a very collective community where most share or are involved in everybody else's experiences. Now this provides for some scheming, story tension, and even comedy. As I said, Pirosh is our main protagonist, but he's also got an older brother and a father that are very present and influential in his life. I really appreciate the parallel that Pirosh's dad's story has with Pirosh's own. Now, the dad is trying to reconnect with his true love that he was kept from all these years. He's driven to just about the point of delusion when it comes to pining after this woman. And there's even a scene where the dad is so invested in seeing his love that he's unable to see how something in a particular setting is completely off, even though it's totally obvious to everybody else. But with the dad, it's the devotion and drive to be with the person that he loves that then parallels Pirosh's storyline. Now, the main conflict of the story comes when Pirosh is getting ready to play at a wedding, and he falls instantly in love with a woman that he sees through a window. They both sing a matching tune, telling Pirosh that this woman appears to reciprocate his love, even though they've never met before and are total strangers. And the problem is, the woman is the bride at the wedding that Pirosh is playing at. When the realization comes, there is an awesomely choreographed scene of anarchy and chaos that breaks out all around our two main characters as they just stand in the middle of an area. Now, the action is slowed down, but the music that plays, it isn't, adding heightened energy to the scene. The woman's name is Sümbül, and she is very quirky, but also incredibly endearing with her innocence. Now, while she appears a little slow, she's very quick-witted and not mentally diminished in any way. What we see is that her simplicity allows her to be swept up by love. And there's also a bit of whimsy to her character that presents itself in sort of this carefree attitude. And the joy that emanates from her, I think it's infectious, and it's hard not to smile along with her, even in dire circumstances. Now, this is a very different romantic drama. Pieces of the narrative come across as unsettling thanks to the themes within the story, as well as just some of the camera movements. But these are also what made this intriguing through the quirkiness. There's a dark area to the plot when it comes to Sümbül and her parents' feelings towards her ruined wedding. Now, while this is uncomfortable for me just because of the consequences of perceived shame as it does play out in their culture, it also provides excellent story tension and provides new insight into how other people groups function. Despite the discomfort I felt in some of the storylines, there's also a lot of subtle commentary that's very dialogue driven. The actors are excellent at delivering their lines in ways that feel earnest and genuine. And there's also a pureness to both Pirosh and Sümbül that makes them sympathetic and easy to watch. And they come across as authentically nice and caring so that we want to root for their success. The cinematography is wonderful at engaging us with the characters and the scenes. And we can feel the love or anxiety within the many different sequences too. And this film is actually phenomenally beautiful. I was captivated by the shot choices and the cinematography. Now, there are several very intimate shots where the camera will come in close to an actor's face as they're speaking or singing, and the framing, it captures all the emotion, whether that's love, sadness, longing, or joy. I mean, each one is spellbinding. Now, because Pirosh and his family are musicians, and then the title of the film is Heartsong, music is an important element within the narrative, which then enables the score to be filled with a ton of emotion. Now, it's mainly sparse with just a fiddle or some other stringed instrument that plucks away to create the necessary feelings. Now, the notes sometimes have a tragic or lonely sound to them, and other times they convey huge energy and emotion. This is a very quick watch at just 95 minutes, but there's something within the storytelling that makes this feel incomplete as a narrative. Now, if Pirosh and Sümbül are the main focus of the story, then there's still a lot that comes across as unfinished because we've really only just begun their storyline. But at some point, it feels more like Pirosh's dad's story takes over focus and prominence, almost hijacking the tale. Now, both of the storylines have similarities, as I'd stated before, but when it comes down to wrapping up the film, I'm left kind of wanting. But after saying all that, there is a sweetness to the beginning of their story. We've been shown two phases of life and relationships, one from the dad's point of view as it's moving towards the conclusion, and the other point of view from Pirosh and Sumbul as they're just beginning. There's a circularity to their life cycles that actually build out a ton of hope. Alright, so I think I just convinced myself that I really do like this movie a whole lot more than when I began the review. Now, solely just by processing it out loud. The love stories are optimistic and even dreamy, giving the characters anticipation for lasting happiness. So overall, Heartsong is a hopeful and quirky love story. The cinematography blew me away with its creativity and ability to draw me into each scene. The acting is awesome to experience, with characters that are able to be simple and layered with complexity all at the same time. While I wasn't convinced at first, the cyclical relationships that dominate the narrative showcase love and devotion amidst discouraging circumstances, creating a captivatingly rich story with love and whimsy. Now, I really enjoyed the score too, with its simplicity and its energy, creating wonderful emotion and tension throughout. There's sex, no nudity, some profanity, and a lot of violence. I gave Heartsong 4.5 out of 5 couches. So are there any quirky love stories that you've seen that you can recommend? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.